Hey, it's Alex from BoardGameCo over here, and today we are talking about Perseverance Castaway Chronicles from Mindclash Games. Now, this is definitely one of the more requested Kickstarters I've seen in the comments. A lot of people want to see it, and it's no wonder. Mindclash Games has an amazing reputation. This Kickstarter is so far knocking it out of the park with 3,400 backers, 375,000 raised so far. I'm filming this on Wednesday. You're probably watching this on Saturday, so things have probably changed and even escalated further by then. Now, if you're new to the channel, quick overview. I tend to look at Kickstarters not just from a how to play. In fact, I barely look at it from a how to play, but rather I focus on the value aspect. There are so many Kickstarters, so many games, not enough time, and so I tend to rotate my collection a lot. I buy games, I buy Kickstarters, I get them, and then if they're not for me, they move on. And so to give myself that freedom to back what I want and play what I want, I focus on whether they hold their value, whether they're a game where you should just wait till retail, get it on the secondary market, or perhaps hit pledge now. And for today, Perseverance Castaway Chronicles has a lot going on. There's a lot to cover. I'll try to do what I can as best as I can. I will, as usual, link to various other videos, other creators who produce better, more informed content in terms of the gameplay and presentation and all that. I will focus briefly on that and then the value. So, Perseverance. Perseverance is a game I did cover in my top 10 non-Kickstarter games I was looking forward to in 2020. I missed this one. This is definitely a Kickstarter game. I didn't see the Mindclash thing, and Mindclash is Kickstarter only, at least initially. They always start with Kickstarters. Mindclash has under their belt, they have a few games. They have Anachrony, which is, I think they're a piece de resistance. It's the one that's most well known and associated with them. They have Serbia Inside World, which generally has very positive ratings and whatnot, generally has a lot of positive acclaim, but I would argue they're least popular from the group, and at a 7.8 on BoardGameGeek, this being their least popular should tell you something already. And then additionally they have Tricarion. Now, all of their Kickstarters, not all, sorry, most of their Kickstarters do tend to see a second print run. If you like their games and if their games do well, they will usually come back to Kickstarter with either more content, different content, big boxes, expansions, all that stuff. And so that's a good thing off the bat. It's good to know because that means if you do decide to pass on this one, Perseverance, more so than any of their other Kickstarters, will see Kickstarter again. And the reason for that is Perseverance is being released as two games. It's effectively two games in one, sharing common similarities, common arcs, common mechanics in the game. But from there are two distinct episodes in the way they play out. And in this campaign, they do a great job presenting the commonalities. In fact, let's go ahead and scroll down to the commonalities between the episodes so we can take a look at that. But in addition to the fact that they'll be doing that, they already announced they have episode 3 and 4 already planned to hit Kickstarter in whenever. And so in terms of that, that means we're going to see another Kickstarter. It's already been told to us. We've already heard Kickstarter number 2 is coming. And they have confirmed that episodes 1 and 2 will be available in that Kickstarter as well, although they said very clearly the price might be higher. So take that into account, but it will be available. So over here we have the game mechanics and that shared system, and we have in both games, they have the shared mechanics and the cornerstone of the episodes. Both games have dice drafting and dice placement. I love dice drafting, I love dice placement. Starting off as a good interest in the game already. The assembly, they both have an aspect of the assembly. When the dice pool runs out, there's going to be a majority mechanism scoring followers in the game. So both games of episodes 1 and 2 and supposedly 3 and 4 will share that as well. From there, they have this concept of influencing the officers, that you're going to be trying to acquire influence in various officers in order to most benefit your strategy. And then differently, then they have the signature mechanics that are different from episode 1 to 2. Now, as a quick overview, this is a good time to cover an overview of what's going on here. The theme of Perseverance is effectively you're on some sort of luxury cruise ship, futuristic situation, and everything went wrong, and you are now stranded on a desert island that is inhabited by dinosaurs. In episode 1, you are primarily defending your setup colony from attacking hordes of dinosaurs. In episode 2, you're going to be focusing more on exploration and expansion, more on area control, going out, possibly capturing dinosaurs. There's a lot going on here. So episode 1, Dino Defense, this is the first mechanic that they're introducing. So again, in addition to dice placement, dice drafting, assembly when all the dice have been placed, and then influencing the officers, additionally in episode 1, you're going to have this big focus on defending your colonies against the dinosaurs. You're going to have to build walls, set traps, and try to make sure the dinosaurs don't come through, messing up your plans. In episode 2, there's going to be an exploration and expansion focus. Your party's going to be venturing beyond your colonies in order to capture dinosaurs, establish outposts and more dice placement options as you establish outposts on the board. Additionally, episode 2 has a focus on leader skills as well, where you can build relationships with the officers and somehow influence or benefit from those leaders. So that's a very, very condensed, very quick overview. At its core, this game is dice placement. At its core, there's two things you should know when determining your interest in this game. The first is that it's a Mindclash game. This is a heavy system, and they do say that this is on the medium to heavy instead of the straight heavy. But at the end of the day, Mindclash games like Vitala Serda, like Splotter games, they tend to be very heavy. So if you are not interested in something that is bending your mind in 14 different ways as you try to piece together the way different elements end up in a cohesive unit that gives you a strategic depth, but also completely being overwhelmed in your first game, then this might not be for you. Just as a starting point, you have to understand who your audience is, what games are for you. No matter how interested you are in the theme, no matter how interested you are in this Kickstarter page, if heavy games have historically not been a good fit for you, this is probably not going to be any different. This is going to be a heavy game. I believe some people said it's most compared to Anachrony in terms of its weight class, and Anachrony is not a simple game in the slightest. A good game, a very well-liked game, but not a simple game. The second thing, assuming that first pick didn't scare you off, the second thing you should know is it's a dice placement game. If you have had fun with dice placement in the past, if you enjoy rolling dice and trying to take them and figure out what's the best way to optimize around them, this might just be for you. Those are two main things. Heavy games, dice placement, that should tell you most of what you need to know already in terms of just being interested in the game. Not the value, not whether you should back it or not, but just in terms of being interested in the game. From there, let's cover the pledge levels. And the pledge levels are actually pretty simple. Not a lot going on here, which makes it simpler to cover. So I'm just going to scroll up to this handy-dandy graphic over here. We have two pledge levels to go with. We have a $95 pledge level and a $135 pledge level. They have said there are going to be no add-ons in this campaign. No additional add-ons. What you see is what you get. They do have not stretch goals, but a community exploration thing. So there will be changes to the game as this journey continues. As we go through each day of the Kickstarter, more content or differences or adjustments might be unlocked. But for right now, ultimately you need to know that there's no monetary stretch goals and that there's no add-ons. What you see is what you get. These are the pledge levels. That's it. Finite. Over. Now for those pledge levels, the first pledge level we have is the $95 pledge level. That's this box you're seeing in the middle of the screen. And to the right of that box, you're seeing the Perseverance, the Deluxe Edition pledge level at $135. So what does that extra $40 give you? So to start with, let's start with what the $95 pledge level gives you. And that is going to give you the main core components of the actual game, which is helpful. Buying a game and being able to play it with its components is a nice starting point to any conversation. So we start with the Episode 1 custom components, uniquely illustrated patrol cards, boards with episode art, tokens, the standees. Then the standees thing is something we're going to come back to later. Assembly and defense components. The shared components used in every episode. These are basically just the components of the game. Episode 2 components, shared components, more and more stuff. That's just basically what you're using in the game. From there, additionally, we have a solo components. We have a modular tray system. And then we have the deluxe component. So here is the differences. These are the things you're getting in the deluxe page, the deluxe pledge. These are the things your extra $40 are going to buy you. And that is 64 dinosaur miniatures. To be clear, right now, at least as of right now, we only have 3 unique sculpts, one for each type, and that's it. I'll show you when we get down later on the GIF on the screen in terms of what that looks like. We have 30 squishy berry resources. If you're familiar with Everdell, that's going to be the same component, the same material used in the Everdell berries. A nice little squishy component. I'm okay with it. I don't really care or not care about that, but hey, it's nice. And then we have 20 metal tracker tokens, and to address any of your questions before you ask, I saw a bunch of people asking about, is this enough? Do you need more of them? And the answer is no, these should be enough to track everything you need. And all of those three things are available as optional buys. Those optional buys are already announced, and if you buy them separately, they will be more expensive than just getting that deluxe edition pledge. So if you are interested in any of those, it's almost certainly worth just going straight to deluxe edition pledge and getting them as is. I mean, some of them might be a little bit cheaper, but for sure the 3 together, it's cheaper to just get the deluxe edition pledge. Additionally, at both pledge levels, this box over here, that's a big deal as well. You'll also be getting the Chronicle and Art book and the deluxe box, which the deluxe box is not going to be in the regular standard pledge. This is a side-loading opening box where you can pull everything out. In that GIF over there, you can see the 3 unique miniature types for the dinosaurs, and we'll see if that changes. We'll come back to that. And then for both pledge levels, you will be getting a Kickstarter exclusive dice tray. That is a free thing that will be included in both pledge levels. So, should you back it? And there's a lot going on here. There's a lot to cover, a lot to go over. As a starting point, I should mention, so I just don't want to forget this, but the shipping is going to be $20 to the US. It's going to be $20 for the basic pledge and $25 for the deluxe pledge, which already is a big bump to that price. That makes your $95 pledge $115 and your $135 pledge $160. That is a decent bump to what we were already talking about. I don't know if we're going to see any monetary, I don't know in terms of where you'll be charged when you're talking about the actual charge, because very often something one of my backers pointed out to me, one of my Patreons actually, and I totally agree, I'm very grateful, I should be including this in all my videos, is something to account for as well as the monetary exchange. Whenever you get hit with a foreign transaction fee on your Kickstarter pledge, that can be another $5, $10, $15 on top of everything else when you're weighing that up against all your options of getting it now versus getting it later. So, should you back it? As a starting point, as a baseline to this conversation, it's a good thing to know that there's no bad choice here. There's no bad back in this case. Mindclash Games have released, like I said, 3 previous games, and grading them from the lowest to their highest, we have Cerebria at 7.8, Tricarian at, which I clicked away from the thing, Tricarian at 7.9, Anachrony at 8.1, and then Perseverance Castaway Chronicles, which of course hasn't been released yet and so can't really be rated. Now from those games, all of them do a decent job holding their value, but holding their value to what extent? To what extent do they hold their value? And it does vary by each one. So for instance, using Tricarian as an example, Tricarian's most recent Kickstarter, the collector's edition that you can get over here for $115 plus shipping, it's selling for almost twice its value on the secondary market. That's a game that's hard to get. If you want the collector's box, the collector's edition, that is a game that is 100% holding its value in terms of just backing it and being able to sell it for at what you paid or more, assuming you don't like it, or if you're just trying to flip it. In terms of their other games, or Tricarian Basic in general, it does depend, because you see, Mindclash Games does sell these games from their web store, and they can be available, different games are available in different retail options. Perseverance will not be available in retail, we'll come back to that. And the variability of the games and what you get does depend on what you're trying to get. Are you trying to get the base game, the expansions, the extras, the collector's box, the painted miniatures from Cerebria Origins box? There's all these nuances to the different options on the table, and that will change the answer slightly for each option. So I'm not going to go into each one because there's a lot of backstory effectively, but as a condensed summary of all of that, the starting baseline is none of their games sell for significantly below what you paid for it. They produce good games, well-loved games, games that a lot of people thoroughly enjoy, and this one, Perseverance, like any of their other games, will at least be somewhere in the range of what you paid for it. So if you're backing it, you're paying $160 for Perseverance Deluxe Edition, my guess is you're risking that shipping. You're risking that $25 off the top. You'll be able to sell that deluxe box for $135 or more, is my guess. And it might be in the range. I might be off a little. It might be 5, 10. These things will 100% be affected by how good the game is. Is this another Tricarian, another Anachrony? Is this a little bit on the lower end with Cerebria, where it has a lot of critical praise, but also some critiques that it's not necessarily worth the heaviness in terms of how much of a game it is? This is definitely a game that you're not walking into a bad, horrible decision where your $135 pledge, $160 with shipping, you're going to have to dump it later for $70. That is not going to happen here. The question is, what is that range? And that is a bit of a guess, to be frank, and some of these things will depend on how and where these games are available later. Because one of the things that they have pledged to, they said there's no stretch goals, this is all going to be available later, but they've pledged to the fact that, where is it over here? The vision we have for Perseverance leaves no room for quality concerns. We are not doing retail, therefore we'll only work with retailers who directly contact us after the Kickstarter. After that, they'll be available on Amazon and our web shop. Now they do note that they are guaranteeing that the price of these games is lower than it will be in the Pledge Manager for late pledgers, so pay attention there if you're trying to late pledge on the game, and additionally it'll be lower than it is on their web shop or convention booths. They don't guarantee it'll be lower than retailers who they sell to, because that would be hard unless you put some sort of contractual arrangement, and they don't guarantee that it will be available cheaper than Amazon. Keep that in mind. They're being very specific with their words in terms of where it will be available cheaper and where it will not be available cheaper. And additionally, and this is the kicker here, cheaper before or after shipping. On their web store, they have $80 shipping. They have $80 free shipping on their web store. So if they're selling a $95 game on their web store, it's already eligible for free shipping unless they change their rules, unless they change something. Now, they might factor that into the price. So maybe they'll be, $120 on their web store. But then that's basically nearly the same price as backing on the Kickstarter, but you can wait till the reviews come in, you can wait to see if your own personal interest and hype dies down, and you can, see whether you can get a secondhand copy cheaper. I don't think that this is a terrible, horrible back at all. In fact, this is going to be very similar to my Dead Reckoning video from Wednesday, where there is no horrible back here, but it also is going to very much depend on the hype of the game and the availability. What I do recommend is if you are backing this, I recommend backing at the deluxe pledge level, which currently we have 146 at the standard and 2,639 backers at the deluxe. And the reason for that is, historically speaking, the best value return on Mindclash games has not been on the base pledge, not been on the base game, but rather it's on all those extras that are less available. Will the deluxe edition be available on their web shop? How long? What will be the cycle between print times? Those things will likely affect its availability. And in general, those are just harder things for companies to stock. They usually stock the core goods far faster than they're going to stock all the extras. If you're going to back this and if you are interested in holding its value, I do recommend going deluxe. That is a safer bet in terms of seeing all your money back, should it not be a game for you. If you back the regular pledge, I don't think it's a bad choice. Like I said, I don't think you're going to lose a lot. You might lose the shipping costs, and shipping at $20 for this game does seem pretty hefty. I mean, you compare that to Cerebria, I believe. I think Cerebria had, let me see if the campaign, I believe it had $8 shipping, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a big bump in the shipping amount of the game since then. And let me see, I mean, the world has changed. The world is constantly changing. Where is the shipping calculator? I should see this here. Here we go. Cerebria, okay? $7 for an estimated shipping cost, which is, I mean, they're subsidizing it, but again, it's a big gap when you're comparing it to $20 or $25 for Perseverance Castaway Chronicles. So to sum it up, once again, no clear answers here. If you're going to risk it, I recommend going with the deluxe edition. If you're going to back it either way, it's certainly not a bad back, but I also don't think it's the best back. And as usual with these conversations, those nuances are going to end up in that zone of how good the game is. Depending on where this falls, whether this is more akin to their flagship Anachrony, or whether it's more akin to Cerebria, I don't even know if I'm saying that right, Cerebria, whatever it is. Depending on that rating difference, depending on how well loved it is, depending on how well it is received, those nuances will affect how much you can get for it after the fact. How much it will cost if you're trying to buy this a year and a half from now and you need to buy someone else's copy, whether it's available secondary market, their store, those things will definitely be the marginal impacts of how good the game is. In terms of myself, am I backing it? I don't know. And I don't know because I plan on watching this journey, this community journey play out over the next, I don't even know how many days it is, over the next 20 days, I plan on watching this community journey play out to see what is added to the game. And some things we know aren't, and those will be pet peeves for me. So let's cover my pet peeves. So to begin with, I have a pet peeve that deluxe box is for episodes 1 and 2, and episodes 3 and 4 will seemingly require its own deluxe box. I mean, it seems annoying. I think the whole point of giant boxes is to consolidate everything, and they're giving us a giant box option, but we know that more content is coming down the road. That is a pet peeve to my personal interest in getting that pledge level. But if I'm not getting that pledge level, I can tell you this right now, if I'm not getting the deluxe box pledge level, then I'm not backing at all. Then I will wait. If I'm looking for the standard edition, I will be waiting. I will not be getting this now. If I'm looking for the deluxe edition, if I'm backing it, I'll be backing it to the deluxe edition, and that just bothers me from the stance of having an episode 3 and 4 coming later. That's pet peeve number 1. Pet peeve number 2 is the miniatures. This is divided up into 2 pet peeves, one of which we might be resolved, one of which will not be. The first one, which will not be resolved, is those dinosaur meeples are coming, those dinosaur miniatures, not meeples. There's only 3 sculpts for all of them. The promise of having hordes of dinosaurs attacking your base, and yet having it limited to 3 sculpts across all the invading dinosaurs, just seems weak to me. And the bases are color-coded. If you want, you can even manipulate it so that it's color-coded and shape-coded for those who are colorblind friendly. And then just make the actual sculpts different or variants to some degree. There's ways you can branch out to categories of dinosaurs that would be self-evident looking at them. Which ones are the smaller, the medium, the large, the whatever. There's certainly ways to do it, and I just feel that the promise of these miniatures is being wasted by having only 3 sculpts for all of those miniatures. And sadly, my third pet peeve is one that will not be resolved, at least as of now, which is the fact that there's basically 3 kinds of characters going on here. There's your leader miniatures, which we can see over here. These are your leader figures. Okay, those are available. Great. There's the dinosaur standees or miniatures. And then there are these soldier standees. And there's a lot of soldier standees. And those will not be upgraded to miniatures. Which puts me in this weird place of, I don't mind standees. I don't mind meeples. I don't mind miniatures. But I really don't like the combination they're in. I don't like combining those different things. And sure, they gave you a deluxe box option to upgrade your pledge to get those dinosaurs as miniatures. But then the soldiers still aren't. Which really, really bothers me from a OCD stance of why am I even upgrading partial miniatures when there's still things that aren't. And they do cover this in one FAQ. Will the soldiers be upgraded to miniatures? Short answer is no, they won't. And they go through it. Some of it's to do with price, some of it's to do with thematicness, aspect, reasonability. I don't care about the reason. It just bothers me from a stance of my own pet peeves. And keep in mind, in a world full of amazing Kickstarters, in a world full of great games with our too many to play, I am happy to let anything be a gatekeeper to me not getting a game. I'm happy to let the art direction be a gatekeeper. I'm happy to let the company, if I ever had a bad experience, be a gatekeeper. I'm happy to let things like these 3 pet peeves be gatekeepers to me not backing the game. I don't think this is a bad back. And again, if you go with the deluxe pledge, I think it's even a safer back. But if I can find reasons to push myself out of backing it, I will happily do so. And unfortunately, as of right now, Perseverance has 3 reasons why I am willing to tell myself I'm not interested. I do like dice drafting. I do like dice placement, dice drafting. I'm a big fan of it. But the heaviness of the genre, which is good. I have heavy games. I have Anachrony. I have Tricarian coming. And I enjoy Vitalisard. I enjoy Slaughter. So there's a lot going on in this world of heavy games that I'm interested in. But there's just enough for Perseverance that I might push myself out of backing it. That being said, I do think it's a reasonable back. If this is a game you are interested in, go ahead and pledge, support the publisher, jump on in. This is certainly not a bad back by any means. Do not let my own personal pet peeves be a reason for you not to back. If they are pet peeves of yours as well, then hey, there's always another Kickstarter coming and you can back the next one just as easily. Or we can wait and see how episodes 3 and 4 go and whether they decide, due to popular support, we're actually releasing the miniatures as an upgrade pack. Who knows what will happen? Companies often do have incentives to cater to customer preferences. And in this case, I can tell you that a lot of people are not thrilled about that miniature standee thing with the soldiers and whatnot. So we'll see how that plays out. As usual, I am Alex Radcliffe from BoardGameCo. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you found it helpful, useful. Are you backing Tricarian and why? Or are you not backing? What did you think of my pet peeves? Do those bother you as well? Which of those 3 checked you off? Or alternatively, do you have another set of pet peeves? Ultimately, if you are backing this game, it's not the worst thing you could do with your money. Not by a long shot. Past that, I hope you enjoyed, as usual. If you find these videos useful, please subscribe down below. If you want updates when I do my regular Kickstarter roundups each week, if you want updates to how the campaign is going and what additional things are being unlocked through the community stretch goal, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, comment, like, share, all that good stuff. And until next time, have a good one.